Welcome to another Wargame review from theplayersaid.com. I'm Grant.
And I'm Alexander.
Today for the first time, we took Colonial Twilight for a spin from GMT Games. And I'm tired. I've said that before. I'm tired.
It's a coin game, and the coin games are always extremely fun, but also
you gotta think it
mind melt, especially the
Yeah.
first time you play them.
Yeah.
Because you've got all the various different things you can do, but you've got to learn the nuances of the game, how things interact a little bit more, and it's familiar, but it's
Yeah.
still, each game is very different, and so
They have different elements.
anytime you play a new one, it's like,
Yeah. So we kind of jumped ahead, sorry. Colonial Twilight, the French-Algerian War, 1954 to 1962. This is a Brian Train design, and this is actually volume 7 in the Coin series. If you don't know much about the Coin series, Coin is short for counterinsurgency, and it is a system based on a multi-faction treatment of various wars and battles. Battles like the Revolutionary War, Vietnam War, I'm drawing a blank. Obviously the French-Algerian War.
and it started.
Roman-
The series started as modern conflicts.
Right, Andy and Abyss.
Cuba Libre, Fire in the Lake,
Lake.
and then they started
Distant Flame.
expanding out to Liberty or Death,
Right.
doing historical ones. This is another kind of more modern game. It's 1954, so it's post World War II. Fits in that kind of
Yeah.
almost original coin era. But there's so much that the coin series has done.
Yeah.
And the new thing with this one is it's strictly a two-player game.
Right. This is a 2-player coin. The others are 1 to 4 players. And this has a solo option. So this is really 1 to 2. But the others are 1 to 4. And usually two of those factions work together. You know, they work together to try to win. They have a similar set of goals. But obviously each of them wants to win. So this is the first 2-player coin game. It's been designed that way. It's been given a new sequence or initiative track, the way that you determine who goes first. Really cool.
Yes,
I actually really like that.
very
I
cool.
think that was designed very well. In previous games, you gained your initiative or knew who was going first with icons listed on the top. But in this one, based on the action that the first eligible player chooses, then the second player can become eligible, or the first person can retain that eligibility. And that's also a very interesting strategic way to play that turn order decider.
And the first time you play with this particular initiative track, which we'll take a look at later, it's kind of a little bit just to get your head
It's
around.
different.
Like,
It's
if
different.
I choose this action, this means I'm going to go second next time,
Yeah.
or I could choose a weaker action and go first next time. And some of that has similar elements to the kind of the
Mm-hmm.
decision tree that you had before, where I choose this, that forces you to do this or this,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'd be ineligible, and these ones would go. But this has some little moving part to it. But we played with that. Brian Train made the turn
Yeah.
track available during, what was it? It's called War in the
War in the
South.
South scenario for
which is
Liberty or Death.
Which is a 2-player scenario for that. So we'd had familiarity
cool.
with that, so I felt comfortable with this.
Yeah,
And I actually
yeah.
really like that as a 2-player little
Yeah,
initiative track.
I think
That's
this
awesome.
it's very well done, and we'll show you here in a minute. But very well done. I think it really creates a 2-player game out of what normally would be a 4-player game. So once again, 2-player game. We're only controlling. Actually, that's not true.
Well,
The insurgents, or the FLN, or Front Liberation Nationale, really only controls one group of pieces. They're all cadres or underground guerrillas,
Yeah.
right? Or bases. Whereas the French
Yeah.
are controlling.
they have French military troops, they have French police units, which have bases, and they have French Algerian troops and French Algerian
Police.
So there's the French
Four.
plane has 4 different, unit types to keep a track of. So a little bit, I would say the French have a bit more just to like
A little more complex.
think about. The
Yeah.
side's a bit more complex just from a, if you want to do this one thing, you have to get this here and this here and this here. Whereas,
Right.
you know, the counter, the insurgents have, you know, one unit type. So just one, it's
Yeah.
a little bit simpler from that standpoint. Although tactically, still very complex and trying to get what you want to get done.
The guerrillas are always very difficult because you're trying to create fires kind of around the map to force you to have to commit to various areas, and then once you commit to an area, I want to try to spread out somewhere else so that I can start. And that's kind of what happened here. I kind of spread out, started building bases, and Alexander came down on me like a thunderbolt. And I was able to hold off.
Yeah, you made a big stronghold here
Yeah.
that was then, because of my lack of resources, impossible to get out of.
Yeah, the
So that
resources were very tight in this game.
which is funny because we had so many.
Oh, I remember I was like 47. He's going to be able to do
And
whatever
I
he
was
wants.
just like blowing
Yeah,
through
you blew
them.
through those.
It was very, very interesting. And what you said about the insurgents moving around, the insurgents and how you're playing them and how they do play reminds me very much of the Taliban in A Distant Plain and the jihadists in Labyrinth.
Absolutely.
Moving around, trying to spread me out like
Yep.
and
And I actually
it's the
think
plan of whack-a-mole
Yeah,
with the
I actually
French
think
units.
I did an okay job of that. I felt like I'd walk over here and I'd throw a match down on the floor, and a fire would start, and you'd be like, "Oh, I got to get over there," and then I would move over here and I felt like I was doing an okay job of doing that.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, I've struggled with that. I like to focus and really wall myself off and try to create some semblance of a power source. And actually, that's what ended up happening. But I was kind of moving around. It was interesting. So once again, this game, 2-player game. You're fighting on North African coast around Algiers. Tunisia is to your east, and Morocco is to the west. Morocco and Tunisia actually eventually can become friendly to the FLN. And what I mean by friendly to the FLN is you can then build bases there, you can recruit troops there, and eventually there are capabilities and events that come out that allow the FLN player to build more bases in those areas, and we'll show you the board. But that made the difference.
And
That
those
is what
are
made-
portions that the French and Algerians, they can't ever even go into those. They're
Right.
havens, so to speak. There's one on each side of the long map.
Yeah, and so that's an interesting thing about the map. There's also a lot of area to the south of the map that's just open desert that really, frankly, we didn't really focus on much. I thought I might start moving down in there, but I felt like the mountains are protecting to me.
Yes, they are very
Because
much so.
the mountains require
Twice as
2
many-
cubes to do a sweep and uncover one of my guerrillas, whereas in a desert or an open, it's
Yeah.
just one. So I never felt like I wanted to go down there.
And neither did I, because there's zero population in those
Yeah,
spots.
they're worthless.
So it was, yeah.
So that's something I found interesting about the game. After just a single play, looking at the way that's laid out, I'm sure there's something to it that we're possibly missing.
The thing that, to me, what those would be used for, especially for the FLN movement, is if you move within that, if you move within the region, you get
the
a free
Walaya.
move. So you could go the region stretches the whole way, and you could pop up here. So it's a way of skipping through a bunch of movements. That would be the easiest way to go about that.
Yeah. So Alexander, what was something that you liked about Colonial Twilight?
It's a coin game.
It's a coin game.
I mean,
yeah.
there's what's not to like about it. It is a coin game, so you have these very familiar mechanics because we've played almost all of them now, and it's always a fun, brain melting kind of strategy tug of war. And I thought I was totally hosed in this game, and it was a 1-point game.
Very close.
And
Because I agree with you. I thought there's no way he's going to catch me.
yeah, like probably 6 or 7 cards, like turns ago, I was like out, and somehow it ended up that it wasn't the case. So a very tight game, and I feel like the auto victory conditions
I don't know how
you would be hard pressed to get
well,
those,
I think you could get those if you're playing a veteran versus a rookie.
which is not fun.
No, that's
no one
not.
wants to do that.
But you and I, we understand the victory conditions. In fact, what do we do every time we play one of these games? We review the victory conditions at the very beginning,
Yep.
and we also review the propaganda and know what's going to happen. Because in every coin game, there's different things that happen in those propaganda rounds. Some of them, like in Liberty or Death, man, you lose a lot of guys if you're not in forts or if you're not nearby forts. And here we didn't have that, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, the propaganda, there's no kind of punishing attrition or anything with it. Like, you can move around, do some stuff. So that was nice. It was one thing. You don't have to worry about that kind of
Right.
stuff. It was fairly innocuous.
One thing that I really liked is we talked about the initiative track. I think that was very fun.
Yeah.
I tried as hard as I could to be gamey and keep it away from you. But what do I always end up doing? I always end up wanting to be uber aggressive. And I got tired of just doing a limited op. I'm like, I got to take that special op or that full op and that activity. But I liked that track. I thought that was really cool. I also really enjoyed the France track. I didn't really care about the border zone track as much. I wasn't recruiting in Tunisia and Morocco and coming across the borders I guess maybe I should have, huh? Because it was, I don't know, I just felt like I abandoned that.
This is a negative money thing. I don't know. It's
yeah.
The
but I
France
enjoyed
track
this
was
France track. That was very
interesting. I was doing my damnedest to get that to the A box, so I
did.
wouldn't lose the commitment. But it took me a long time to do it.
Yep.
So I lost a lot of aggregate commitment over the course of the game. And the commitment, if you can ever keep that up, that's what keeps the French in the game.
Yeah.
And I ended up with like 9 commitment at the end because there was some stuff going on. Some killer.
Yeah, but I like that France track because what it is, it's a representation of the French people and how they support this war or not, in the amount of resources they're sending, and their level of actually wanting to win it. I thought that was neat. Very well done. What was something that you struggled with or didn't like about this one?
I'm not sure there was anything I didn't necessarily like. So that OAS,
That thing,
the FLN pivotal event, the OAS card, we'll take a look at that in here a bit. It is killer.
Yeah.
The way that works, you just punish the French
Well,
very easily. I felt.
Well, it cost me a lot of resources.
Yeah,
it cost me 6 resources every time I did that because I was doing Algiers. But the real benefit is you were losing commitment,
Which is
every turn.
It's hard to get that. I have to do 3 assaults to get that 3 commitment back, which is 6 resources for me. Plus, I have to be in a position to remove 3 bases, and that's hard enough as it is.
Yeah, I when I got that event, I thought to myself, "Oh, this one's going to really hurt over time."
Well, and then I had my coup d'état to try and get
Counteract
rid of
that.
that, but then the roll was bad, and I got even more screwed, frankly.
Yeah.
From
You
that.
actually, your coup d'état
It was
hurt
a coup
you.
d'état for you,
Right,
really,
but
is what it was.
Right, it turned into an event for
Yeah.
me rather than you.
So that's a 2-edged sword. Like you roll off, and whoever wins gets the stuff.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of swinginess in some of those, and the theme on this one for me is one that I don't necessarily know a lot about this.
Right.
Or I wasn't like, ooh, that's a fascinating combat that I want to know more about. I didn't know, really care.
Yeah.
But having played this, it was fascinating reading all the various designer notes and the histories that they got in the box.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've learned about this conflict. So it turned out to be a positive thing.
Yeah.
Where the theme was something I wasn't turned off by it, but I wasn't necessarily turned on by it.
Right. The only thing I think I didn't like, and it's very similar to your thoughts, there were a couple cards where I felt like the events ended up in the end being very beneficial for the FLN. I got a couple really good ones, the OAS. The other one that was really devastating, I don't remember what it was called, but that allowed me to put more bases in those areas, and those bases are protected.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an event
that allows you to go in.
So you could go in and remove those or something.
But that was a game changer, I think. Getting that card that allow, and I don't like those kind of killer. a lot of these games, I think of Twilight Struggle, Labyrinth, a lot of the events, they hurt, but they don't crush you. I felt like that was crushing.
Yeah, well, because there's almost a permanent 6 bases on the board.
Yeah.
Now, again, that forced my hand to do other things, and I think that the deck, if it favors the FLN, which I'm still not sure that it does.
It may not.
It might do. It felt like it did a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And those are random cards, so there may be ones that favor you more.
But we just had none of those.
Right.
But I think that's to counteract the strength of the French troops and their assault capabilities as well, potentially. But all that being said, 1 point game in the end.
Yeah, right.
So I
so with even those benefits that I had,
Yeah.
it came down to really a couple plays here and there.
and I can pinpoint 2 or 3 different
You
things
could have moved a guy here and done something.
Yeah, that I could have done or should have done.
Yeah.
If that coup d'etat gone the other way, points are, I mean, just...
Yeah, that was a die roll.
So really, as a 2-play game, I feel like it's extremely well balanced. I thought it was a 1 point game. After all that, I had a great time.
We played the short scenario, and I think it took us about 3.5 hours, but that was...
Learning the game.
Once again, learning. Now that we've gone through the special, the ops and the special activities, I now know more what I want to do. It's going to be quicker.
And we're slow players.
We are. Well, we're not stupid.
No.
But we like to think them through.
Yeah.
I don't want to just jump in and do something that's going to screw me over.
No.
These games are too long to do something like that and be so punished that you're like, oh, I wish I would have gone back and undid that. I like to think through if I do this or do that. One thing I also didn't like, and the combination of your sweeps and neutralizing, that's a different combination for the government player. Think back to Fire in the Lake, where you can't sweep and assault in the same turn.
No.
Unless there's a card that allows that.
Yeah.
Although it didn't, I don't know that it really changed it. That was painful.
Yeah, you sweep in, you reveal X amount of guys, and you can kill
Remove
2 of them.
And I was able to then rally and put more guys in there every time.
And that hurts. It hurts opposition when you do that.
Yeah.
But so there's a toss up. But
Yeah.
it was interesting. Again, but that's like all the coin games. The factions they've
got different elements
from each other,
yeah.
but they're different from every other faction in every other coin game.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah.
It tailors
They all feel different.
the situation and the kind of orders they were operating under to the historical setting that it's in.
Well, these games are extremely well designed. I think that's something that no one will doubt. The designers on these games are top notch. Brian Train's amazing. We've loved ADP. I have several other of Brian's games. He's a good designer, but Volko Runke, Mark, the God designer, Herman, Fire in the Lake. I mean, those are some of our favorite games. Jeff Grossman with Cuba Libre.
Yeah.
They do a great job, and these games are really played. Pendragon, I think, has been being worked on for
a long time.
I want to say 3.5, 4, almost 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of a good system.
And you can tell that all of these games have been developed in such a way that they're excellent games, very fun to play.
So one comment, and then we'll go to the board. One comment about these coin games. We've played 6 out of the 7 existing volumes. Only one we have not played is Andy and Abyss. I have it on reprint. But I can tell you, this $60 that is spent for this game, I think is one of the greatest values in board gaming. Because these things are so tight, well designed, and they're fun. We can play these things again and again and again, and I still enjoy them.
And
I really do.
From a kind of fiscal standpoint, you get what you pay for as well. Tons of beautiful board, tons
fully
of
mounted
wooden
map,
pieces, great cards.
I mean, look at the embossing on these coin games are great. These are embossed tokens for no reason. They're just
you can
awesome
pay twice as much
for a game that's half this quality.
Yeah,
no doubt.
There's some chits and counties,
No doubt. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at the board, and then we'll come back for some final thoughts. All right, so here's a look at the board. We already talked about the geography. This is obviously North Africa, Tunisia on the east, Morocco on the west, Mediterranean is on the north. Really nice looking board. It's very similar to A Distant Plain. A Distant Plain is also mountainous desert, high arid plain area. So not a lot of color stands out on it, but I do like the relief of the different mountains. I think it's a very nice looking map. The map also is smaller it feels smaller, but I'm not so sure it really is that much smaller than the others. It's not Cuba Libre small.
No.
That's for sure. Cuba Libre has about 12 spaces. This probably has 20. But here, as you look at the map, you'll notice we ended our game. Mainly the areas of contestation were the middle of the country, Algiers, as well as Orleansville, and then Mastaganam. Sorry. And then the other area that we fought over early in the game was around Constantine, Sakaras, and Tabessa. I kind of abandoned those once you gained control and tried to spring up over here and create some fires. So this is a look at the final part of the game. The game was very, very close. I ended up winning with a -11. And I know it's crazy to say you can win a game like that. Alexander's score was -12 with the government. So it was very close, very hotly contested, and I think a couple moves here and there would have changed it drastically. I did want to show you down here the eligibility track. First off, the FLN starts every propaganda new turn as the first eligible. And what happens is you'll notice these spaces are different colors. So this space is darker gray along with the execute op only. The event and the limited op as well as the pass are the lighter color. So if and I'm probably going to get this wrong. I hope I don't get it wrong. If I choose to do the event, pass, or do the limited op, I'm then going to retain that first eligible positioning. And then you can, if I place, say, here, your options are to play these three. So you can do an execute op and special activity, pass, or execute op only. So that's kind of the way that works. So it can become rather gamey, where if I see the event is really good, I might want to play up here. Therefore, Alexander can't get the event.
And that's because I have to play in one of the spots adjacent to his. And if I'm second, it doesn't matter which one I go in, I'm still going to be second.
Right.
But if ever the first player wants to do special ops, op with special activity, or the op only, then they're going to go to the second, and then I can do...
Yep.
So if you do that one, I can do any of these, and I'm going to go first next time, and that's how it's going to switch. And you can kind of see the gray ones match the gray in the second player here in the eligibility.
And that's I think, a very unique and innovative way to deal with a two-player initiative system. Worked very well. I think that was very enjoyable. So anyway, that's the initiative track. The other areas that I wanted to kind of point your focus to was the France track, as you can see up there at the top. That's a very neat track. We already talked about its purpose, but you can see it starts on the very far right at the F level. And as the French player, you're trying to get that down towards A so that your commitment is still strong. I'm, as the the insurgent player, trying to move it to the right because what's going to happen is their commitment is going to wane and they're going to lose commitment every turn. And that commitment, in essence, is final score.
Yes.
Your final score victory condition for the French player or government player is your commitment level plus your support that you have in the different countries. Show them the support, Alexander, and the opposition.
Yeah, so you gain support or opposition in each of the different sectors or cities, but this track, each of these boxes, when it comes to a propaganda phase, you lose whatever it says right here. Then, after that, the track's going to move down, so gradually over time, this is going to get the French are going to get more involved in the war, but you want to kind of influence that as much as you can as the government player. But your support is calculated by these support tokens here, which have, let's see, we got support, and then they flip over to oppose.
And that's standard for coin games.
Yeah, so you'll put your support, if you can gain support in a place, the support value is equal to the population of that area. So, in areas like this, which have a 0 population, no fighting was done over that. Because frankly, I couldn't care less. As long as you weren't building bases there.
Yep. All I tried to do was get in there and get a couple of bases. That was it.
And so that's why places like Algiers and a lot of these 2 population regions that are on the coast
Were more hotly contested.
extremely hotly contested, and that's so that's why some of the OAS events. Well, do you have that OAS card?
Yeah, here it
that
is.
thing is brutal.
It is brutal.
Because it'll affect commitment and it removes support cubes when you set things to neutral. So he was putting out these terror markers, and it was just devastating at times. So I'd be paying tons of my resources because this is a terror. That's what you did here.
Mm-hmm.
Put the terror down, put this to neutral. So I lose commitment, and
You have
the
to spend
support goes
resource,
down.
yep.
So I got to spend all my resources to get rid of this, and to put my support back that I previously had.
And the only thing that tried to balance that was that I had to pay 2 times the amount of the population in order to do that in resources.
Yeah, so
to do it to a 3 population city like Algiers, I had to spend 6 resources. To do Medea, I had to do 4 resources. And that, for me, because although I can get resources heck of a lot easier than you can, it was still very costly, but I had to use those strategically, mainly to reduce your commitment. That's what I was trying to focus
absolutely.
on. I didn't care if you got the control back or the support. I mean, obviously, I would have loved to have kept that away, but that was one thing that you were trying to do. The other thing, if you'll look at the board, you'll notice once again the different colored pieces. The light green cubes are the Algerian police. The kind of hunter green cubes are our Algerian troops. And then the light powder blue cubes are French police, and the royal blue are French troops. So that was what we were talking about earlier with Alexander having so many different types of units to control and worry about. Whereas, look at mine, guys, it's just black cylinders that represent insurgents, guerrillas. So a lot more simpler for me to control. So there is some complexity, I think, for the government player. I don't know that newer players should be playing the government player. But I also would say I don't know that newer players should be playing the insurgents as well, because they have to be specifically devious or the game can become very out of control.
And I'll say it again, this game reminds me of Labyrinth in that way, where this game hinges on how much the FLN player does.
Yeah.
Because if the FLN player is not good, or if they just kind of piddle around and can't make any progress, it is easier for them to get smashed by the very heavy-handed French troops. And really, it's up to the FLN player to dictate the pace of the game. Because if the government can dictate, I think the FLN's have a much harder time of it.
So I want to translate what you just said, because I think we got you on tape. You're saying that I played the insurgents okay?
Yeah, absolutely. You won!
Because I am terrible at the insurgents in Labyrinth. I'm going to admit it. I'm terrible. So anyway, that's a look at the board. Really great game. The other thing they've started to do in these more recent versions of the coin, these really cool, if you look down on the right, sorry, I'll move it there, these really cool base trackers. You pull from the bottom and you can just automatically say, oh, I have 10 bases out. So you're not having to count the bases on the map. That's a really neat change that's happened. Fire in the Lake has that, but that's a really neat thing. Also, the capabilities boxes, I really like those because when you play certain cards, they tell you, put that capability out so that you know you have that for the rest of the game. One of the capabilities I got was called Revenge. Every time you assaulted and killed my guys, I was able to bring back an insurgent. And I thought that was very powerful
that was
for
powerful
me.
in the end, yeah.
So that's a look at the board. You can see normal, great quality from GMT. The rulebook's fantastic. We did an unboxing of this if you want to check it out. But definitely a great game, and we really enjoyed it. So I hope you got a good feel for Colonial Twilight, the French-Algerian War. So Alexander, final thoughts about this game?
I like this game a lot more than I thought I would. And I mean that from the setting standpoint.
Right,
It
the
was a
theme or
coin
setting.
game, so I knew I'd like it,
Yeah.
but I didn't know if I would have that kind of a connection with the theme of this, like I do with things like Fire in the Lake, Cuba Libre. Love those games. But I had a really fun time playing this. It was much more enjoyable than I kind of expected from that standpoint.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know a ton still, like about this,
Right.
like I do some of the other conflicts that are represented in the coin series. But the game itself is a fantastic game, and it stands on its own. It's a great game, and the two-player implementation is excellent.
awesome.
Excellent.
That would be my comment. If you don't have a large group, get this game. This game can be played with 2 people. That's our biggest struggle with the coin games is we can't get 4 people together to play.
And that's because you can play most of them 2-player, especially
they're made for 4 though.
But yeah, having 4 is
That's
so much more dynamic.
Yeah.
But this does the coin feel just with the 2.
So you get the coin feel in this game. You get all the advantages of the coin in a 2-player format. Fantastic. We have not played the solitaire bot yet. It's done. I know it's amazing. It's done by great people. I think that's something that I would like to try and explore and see how it plays solo. But go out and get this one. I think this is money well spent. I also believe that you will enjoy this game just as much, if not more, than you will many of the other coins, because it is truly a different experience than the others. And that's one of the things I really like about the coin too. They're all different. Other than just the different time and the theme, they're different. And I like that. So thanks for watching. Look over the next couple of weeks maybe for a written review on this. I'd like to play it a couple more times, at least do a solo as well. But look for a written review. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and like it. If you like our channel, go ahead and subscribe. We're really trying to build something, and I really enjoy this, as does Alexander. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.